Hey guys, JK here. Hey, I want to take a quick second before we start this podcast to tell you stuff that we are really excited about. Listen, we absolutely love the conversations we start on this podcast, and I want to provide you with practical application and pieces that you can take action on to lead in your life. Right now, you know that we've got new content called the JK Download on our website at joshkalinowski.com. We've got the prayer, we've got the hell yeah statement, and we've got more content we're going to be releasing here in the next couple months. We're going to we'll share with you guys exclusive training and downloadable templates to motivate and empower you to overcome. Subscribe at joshkalinowski.com and get it in your mailbox. People spend a lifetime searching for their purpose. Come walk in my shoes as I find mine.
You're now listening to the JK Experience.
Going, okay, I'm going to take full responsibility for the happiness in my life.
Good for you. You feel you're talented in that. Pursue that. Who gives a crap what everybody else says, right?
When you are disciplined about how you take action on the things that you desire to accomplish, does it make you better? Absolutely.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the JK Experience. And, listen, I know that you guys are all going to be disappointed, but James is not here with me today. We've got an even better guest, and I promise you guys are going to want to repeat this episode. Miss Guyla Greenly, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's so great to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited about this.
So Guyla and I go way back. I'm still in the same industry. She's decided to jump out of the industry, which was in real estate. Guyla was the former Chief Executive Officer for the Wyoming Association of Realtors. How many years were you in that position, Guyla?
I was the CEO for 7 years, but I was with the association for 11.
Okay.
I was the executive assistant prior to moving into the CEO position.
Well, I know that, I served on a few of the boards there, so I had the pleasure of dealing with you, and it was always great. Your knowledge of the back part of our real estate industry was unbelievable. And as sad as we are to have had you leave, I'm really excited about this new venture that you've taken on. Now, you were always a writer, right? That was always the gift that you realized in your life, and then you decided. So you're a writer, and you still have a little bit of that still going on, right?
I do. And some of it's kind of been hit and miss, with life happening.
Mm-hmm.
I have a blog post called You Do You Mama, or a blog, not a blog post, youdoyoumama.com. That's just kind of my thinking and thoughts on, how to find peace and balance in a wibbly wobbly world.
Sure. Yeah.
And that came out of when I lived in Tennessee. I worked for the Chester County Independent, and I had my own weekly column, and I really enjoyed writing that. And so I thought, well, what better way to get back to doing that than through a blog?
Mm-hmm.
And then, I've done some magazine article writing, and a lot of business writing. That was a lot of what I did with the association, was a lot of the communication, and was the editor of the Realtor magazine, the Wyoming Realtor magazine that we had out, and
right.
That kind of thing. So yeah.
So I hope I'm not getting too intrusive in here, but what age was it that you decided, I want something different in my life? And I share this because as I am transitioning into other ventures as well too, one of the things that when I got done playing baseball, I kind of told myself I was too old to start over. Like, oh my gosh, I'm too old. I can't move forward on something else. I got to just fall into something. And I just really had that epiphany this year at the age of 43 going, if I had to start my career over, what would I want to do? And that allowed me some freedom.
Yes.
And I know that you did that. So maybe tell your story a little bit, if you don't mind.
Okay. I'd gotten a master's degree in journalism while I was at the association. And my main reason for doing that is that, I would tell a lot of people's stories. Okay. And I wanted to be better at telling people's stories. So I did that while I was at the association. And then I had a friend tell me at graduation with the master's that I should consider the Doctorate of Strategic Leadership program through Regent University. And I was like, I was so done with school. I was like, there is no way that I am going to do any more education. But as I continued at the association and my kids moved out of the house and it was just me left at home, I started thinking that perhaps I did want to pursue that doctorate, but I knew that it was going to be a really difficult thing to do with my position. And I'd also been there long enough that I'd kind of come to a realization that I spent a lot of my time facilitating everyone else in doing their job, you know, with 3 staff members, an executive committee, the board, 14 local boards, you know, and over 2,000 members. Wow. I was on the phone pretty much all day long, answering questions, facilitating everyone else and doing their job. And then I would stay late to get things done. And I no longer had a work-life balance as a single person, children raised and everything, you know, and I seriously became physically and emotionally burned out. And so I started doing some journaling of, you know, what are the things that I love about my current job? What are the things that if I never did it again, that would be too soon? You know, and started thinking about those kinds of things. And the leadership development was something that I really enjoyed doing. And so I started looking more into the doctorate program, but I told myself that I was too old, that by the time I finished it, I would be 53 years old, and that was too late to get a doctorate. I wouldn't be able to get a return on my investment. I should be putting that money into retirement instead of education, all of that kind of thing. And I had a friend say to me, you're going to be 53 no matter what. Do you want to be 53 with a doctorate or wishing you'd gotten a doctorate?
Wow.
And so I made that decision to do that. And so that's the journey I've been on for the last 3 years. And I'm in my last class, 6 weeks left of that. And I'm writing a book for my final project and graduate in May with a doctorate in strategic leadership with specialization in leadership coaching.
That is such a great, seriously, I got that question is resonating with me right there. That is awesome. Yeah. I've never heard anybody say it that way or had anybody ask me a question like that. So for all you listen, and like, I that's in my head now. And I promise you, I'm going to be using that as a great leadership question.
Yeah. And that's part of what coaching is, as you know, do it with the things that you do is, you know, the answers are inside of us.
Right.
It's just having someone else to intently listen and ask the provocative questions that get you thinking and guide you and lead you to the answer that may be buried within yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. So so with this doctorate though, the next step for you is to get, you're with a leadership company already, Dandelion, is that right?
Yeah, I've just started my own company called Dandelion Leadership Coaching.
Right. And the whole point of this part of leadership, explain to the audience on this, because you and I had a great conversation before, but I loved your viewpoint of this because I feel it is so relevant in the day and age that we live in, and such a need. I'd love for you to just kind of tell people where you feel people need leadership in and guidance in right now.
You know, as a leader, you know, and like I said earlier, with the facilitating everyone else and doing their jobs, that's a lot of what leaders do. And we carry a lot of responsibility, and many of us have the big picture, but then we also are responsible for all the details to reach that big picture. Right. So we're carrying a lot around in our heads and in our hearts. And as I mentioned, as a single person, you know, I didn't really have anybody to talk to about all of that kind of thing. You know, you can't talk to your staff. That's not appropriate. You don't want to talk to the people that are giving you your annual review, you know, things, you know, and just bouncing things off of and having the space to explore things. And so I hit a point of emotional and spiritual, and physical burnout. In August of the last year I was with the association, I was diagnosed with atypical pneumonia.
Mm.
And in the 7 months between when I was diagnosed and when I left, I had been on 7 trips and never missed a day of work.
Wow.
And a lot of that was me doing it to myself.
Sure.
you
Yeah.
know? And so since leaving and getting the certifications that I've gotten, the education that I've gotten, I've learned a lot about our personality types and how we react to stress.
Mhm.
And through that was able to forgive myself for, I beat myself up that, I wasn't a good enough leader, or, I wasn't good enough to continue in a job that I enjoyed.
Mhm.
And I had to learn that, that I didn't have all the tools that I could have had I known the things that I know now. And so the realization that I came to through my coaching classes and everything was, had I had a coach, I may not have reached that level of burnout.
Mhm.
And I may not have left the position. I'm happy that I did, because
Right.
I have moved on and doing other things that I believe God has called me out to do.
Mhm.
But I would like to be able to pass on the information that I've learned, the tools, and things that I've learned, and help people either avoid getting to the point of burnout that I was in, or help them come back from that.
I think what you're saying is so once again, so relevant. As I was telling you, we just got back from our leadership retreat. It was an all company leadership retreat. And one of the themes was just, I knew that people were just burned out, not burned out because the organization was, a place they didn't like to show up, but more just the stress of the environment and
Right.
uncertainty and chaos and
Mm-hmm.
everything that we're all going through with COVID
Right.
and our economy. And then of course you had the
Yeah.
election and then divided country. And I mean, you name it, you can just pile all these things on.
Yes.
And a lot of people find themselves, especially as CEOs, in what we call the corner office, where
Mhm.
you're there by yourself because you don't have anybody that can relate to you,
Right.
and who do you talk to about,
Mhm.
for those of you like, one of my sounding boards is my wife, but to a certain point,
Mhm.
sometimes she doesn't want to hear all that crap, right?
Right.
Because I'm
Right.
bringing it home, and
Yeah.
she's awesome and amazing. And we do have a lot of those conversations, but there are a lot of people that don't have that sounding board. A coach is, I tell you what, I am a firm believer in coaching. I'm a firm believer in having a mentor or a coach.
Mhm.
I love that you're getting into that space. The other thing is that Andy Stanley, I don't know if you know who he is. He's
Yes.
a pastor. He's
Mhm.
awesome. I absolutely love listening to him talk about a fantastic leader in our country. But he talks about when people discover their purpose, it's from a burden that they have, which,
Yeah.
you discovered this burden because you lived through it,
Mhm.
a talent that they have acquired, right?
Mhm.
Whether naturally by God given or something that
Mhm.
they've developed within themselves, and an opportunity that they see. So I would say that everything that has happened to you has actually happened for you so that you can serve on a bigger platform and stage. So
Right.
I think it's
Yes.
amazing that you took that chance and have really started to develop these natural skills that you had into something that can be used for other people.
Thank you. And and I see, I have um, 3 grown children in their 20s,
Mhm.
and I see them and their friends doing a lot of what I was doing. And
Yeah.
so to try to help them too as they're starting out in their careers, to try to help instill in them through teaching them what I've learned, or to set those boundaries, to
Yeah.
understand their personality types, understand what drives them, understand how they react to stress, and then be able to catch themselves before they ingrain those habits deeply within themselves.
Yeah, so good, so powerful. Well, I'd like to know, and for my own being, so this would be my own therapeutic coaching call right now. What advice do you give to CEOs right now, or people that are leaders that are running organizations, leading themselves, just even leading themselves, moms and dads? If they're experiencing burnout right now, what would be some advice, whether it's one hack or tool or something to think about, a question to ask themselves that you feel would be important, or even a couple if you have anything like that. But what would you, at this time of the year, you're at the end of the year almost,
Mm-hmm.
fourth quarter, we're doing our business planning. So it's like, oh my gosh, are we really
Right.
thinking about 2021 already? We haven't even gotten through this year.
Absolutely.
What would you say to someone like myself?
I think one of the things is extending grace to ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and really looking at why we are pushing ourselves to do some of the things that we're doing. We have a lot of shoulds, that
Right.
drive us.
Yeah.
And some of the, I used to think I had to do Christmas perfectly, and I had to have all the greatest gifts and the greatest decorations and everything. And it kind of hurt my feelings to find out my kids didn't care.
They did.
And in fact, it stressed them out to see me stressing out to do all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've cut way back, and realize, and look at what is it, why are we doing the things that we're doing?
Yeah.
Is there something of great value that we're getting out of it? And if there is, how can we streamline it?
Yeah.
And if there's not, is it a sacred cow, kind of a thing that we're hanging on to? And can we change it to be more beneficial?
Love it. One thing that you said earlier that I thought was just awesome. This is once again, you and I were speaking, you're writing a book. I'm taking way too long to write a book. We're almost there. We're almost at the finish line.
Josh.
It does. It takes way longer, and it's way more painful than you think.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I talk about in the book, and you highlighted this early, is that in order for you to really move on, is that you have to learn to forgive yourself. Yeah. I thought that was just amazing. Talk about that and how either how you did it or just how freeing it was for you to be able to do that.
I think part of it was that I've been certified in type coach,
okay,
which is kind of like the Myers-Briggs. It's based off of that research, but it's focused really on a practical application of it. And so in doing that, I learned a lot about personality type and how we react to stress, conflict, changes, what motivates different personality types and everything. And so that was a part of the journey for me in going, oh, okay, I'm wired this way. This is how I was made. And here are some hacks for how I can better approach this strategic area or this stressful area or something. And by learning those things, I was able to then say, it's not because I'm a failure. It's not because I wasn't working hard enough or doing well enough, that it was because I just hadn't reached that level of my learning about myself yet. And somebody asked me, again, those great coaching questions, but somebody asked me, who has ever told you that you are bad at this? Or who told you you're not good enough in this? And no one had.
Yeah, it's just the stories that we hold on to, and then we start to believe, right?
Yeah. And so really working at trying to tell myself different stories about myself and see the positive things and the successes that I have had, that the whole, they talk about having a gratitude journal and stuff. And I'm a huge person for doing to-do lists. And I started doing done lists.
Nice.
And instead of going, oh, I have this much more to do by the end of the year, I'll go, well, I've done this much so far this year. And then celebrate those wins and go, I have moved forward. I have improved. And be more in the thinking in the positive and in thinking in what I have accomplished and what is good about me instead of what I didn't get done that I wanted to get done or where I perceived that I failed.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons I love the fourth quarter is because we get that time to reflect, right? And I think it's so important to do that. I'm with you 100%. We talk about filling your cup on a regular basis. And, through this year, it's hard to fill it when it just keeps getting getting emptied and you're pouring it out on other people. And it's so important. And one of the things that I think I continue to keep hearing from you is how important it is to take care of yourself and fill in that cup and having those honest conversations with yourself. You've got the book. I'm super excited about it because I absolutely, first of all, I just love the title. Tell everybody about the title. And then when do you have an expectation of a launch on this?
Okay. The title is Straight Answers: Why You're Not Getting Hired or Excelling in the Workplace. And I have to have it written for my doctorate. Deadline, drop dead deadline to have it turned in is March 7th.
March 7th. Okay.
And then I graduate May 8th. And so very shortly after that timeframe, I'm hoping to have it published and available.
Good. Well, you've got to promise that once you get it published, that you'll come back on the podcast and let's dive into the book and see what we can do to get that into the hands of so many people. I mean, I've got a handful of people already that I'm thinking like this would be a phenomenal book for them to be reading. So, and myself included. So, so I'm excited about that. If people that want to follow you, what's the best platform? Where would they find you?
I have a website, dandelionleadership.com. And I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. So as at Dandelion Leadership Coaching.
Excellent.
And and personally as Guyla Greenly.
Excellent. Well, that's where you and I hooked up. It was on LinkedIn. So I love that you're on that platform and I'm getting more involved in it. So, well, Guyla, thank you so much. This was so much fun to see where you're at. I love how inspired you are to continue to pour into yourself, but also now that you've taken this position to help pour into other people because you see such a need.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're all workaholics, most of us, and particularly people that are in a leadership role. We got there because we push.
Yeah.
That's and exactly right. Sometimes we forget and push too hard and don't give ourselves enough grace. So.
Oh, grace is a massively important word in our lives. So I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely love it. Well, everybody, hey, once again, you know that for us on this JK podcast, it is so important. Not only, hopefully does it not only fill your cup, but we know that there's somebody out there that needs to listen to this podcast. So we just ask you to share this, get this in the hands of those that it's important. Reach out to Guyla. I know that she does personal one-on-one coaching. I know that she do group coaching. And then of course, she's got the book coming out. She's got content that she's constantly putting out there. So follow her and she can be a great inspiration of hope for so many people. So Guyla, thank you once again. And I cannot wait to have you on the podcast to talk about your book.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well,
good luck on your book.
Yeah. Thanks. I'll let you know about that one too. Yeah. It'll get done. I promise.
It will. Yeah.
All right, everybody. You guys have a great day and we will definitely be talking with you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Wait, before you go, we want you to know how thankful we are for you listening to the JK Experience. You're the reason we keep sharing valuable content every week. If you found any value in this podcast, please subscribe to our channel and write us an honest review. We want to know what you think so that we can grow with you. We'll catch you next time.